Hello guys! So I had some free time today unexpectedly and I decided to use it to give you some astro insights because we are really going through some difficult times right now in the world, and I think just zooming out and getting a perspective over everything can really help. I'm in Mexico right now. As you can see, it's super hot, and yeah, I also didn't find a quieter place than this. I know probably you can hear some Mexican music in the background, but yeah, this is just a pretty loud country, I would say, and I hope you still hear me fine. All right, so let's get started. I'm showing you here the map of today, right? So the astro constellations of today. And there's a few interesting aspects happening right now, right today. You know, these aspects, they are only temporary, very short, they last a day or two, and they are nothing extraordinary. They do repeat themselves very often, like every month, but still, we do feel them every month. You know, it is like a ritual that happens every month. One of those aspects is the moon conjuncting Saturn. And Saturn is all about restrictions. You know, Saturn in Aquarius is all about this collective restrictions that we are all facing right now, and the suppression and the limitations, the confinement. The moon getting in there just means our emotional attention is very much on that topic that day. So either if it really has to do with us focusing very much with on what is happening in the world right now and feeling frustrated about that, or maybe we're dealing with some emotional confinement topics of our own, like feeling low, feeling a bit depressed, or not being able to get enthusiastic, yeah, or feel happy. Basically, that's what it is. It kind of, you know, it kind of limits the moon, it limits our emotional capacity for the day. And we might feel a bit down or more pessimistic on those days when we have moon conjuncting Saturn. But it's also like a good reality check. Everything to do with Saturn is always a good reality check. So these days when we have moon conjunct Saturn is a good moment to examine if some of our emotions are reality proof. If, I don't know, we feel enthusiastic about a certain project, but on the day where moon conjunct Saturn, we will feel the reality of it. We will actually feel how much of our enthusiasm is just, you know, our own projection, and how much of that is really applicable. Like, does our project really have success potential in the real world or not? So that's kind of a reality check example that Saturn can give us, or it can give us a reality check in terms of a person that we recently met, and or that we are together for a long time, and just you know, being more pragmatic about how we feel, not letting emotions rule us, and feeling into the real potential of that connection or not. Yeah, as the moon moves on, and tomorrow it will come closer to Jupiter, and then we will already feel again more enthusiastic and optimistic. So Jupiter and Saturn are a bit opposites. You know, Jupiter is about expansion and optimism, and Saturn is a lot about confinement and constriction. So we will have like the two extremes of the moon in these days, like the most pessimistic part of us and the most optimistic part of us tomorrow. So we can observe this display, or this, you know, like these two parts of us, and both are not in balance. You know, when moon is conjunct Saturn, you're probably feeling at your lowest, at your most pessimistic, and you have like a very, you know, pragmatic outlook on everything. And when moon conjuncts Jupiter, you feel like very optimistic and maybe even too optimistic about things. So yeah, observe yourself on those 2 days and what your emotions are telling you, and then find the middle between those two things. That's always a good advice with the days when the moon conjuncts Saturn and then Jupiter. Then today we've got Mercury on the 29th degree. That also happens every 3 weeks, every month. And the 29th degree always is, it's a degree of urgency, of like wanting to finish something, you know, wanting to get something over with. And Mercury is obviously about communication. So every month that happens, we feel like we need to finish like some communication that we started, or say something that we missed out saying or talk to a specific person that we missed. It's a lot about catching up on communication or doing something that you have on your communication to-do list that you didn't finish in the last month, like calling your mom or telling your partner things that were really on your heart, but you didn't have the guts to speak your truth. Yeah, all these kind of things. That's today's energy. So today is a pretty interesting day in that regard. What else? Today also the conjunction of Venus and the Sun is ending. See, since February 10th, so for a long time, February, March, April, for over 3 months, right? We had almost 4 months, we had Venus conjuncting the Sun. They're always really close to each other, but not in conjunction. So they were traveling together, constantly conjunct each other in Pisces, in Aries, and now in Taurus, and now Venus is leaving the Sun. So while they were conjunct, it was like a period that, first of all, was very fueling for our self-confidence, because Sun is the ego, our personality, Venus is self-worth. So it was a good time where we could feel confident about ourselves, about what we are doing, and it was also a time where romance was very favored. Now the conjunction is kind of ending, so this energy will fizzle out a bit. So if you felt like really confident about what you're doing and about yourself in the last months, and you had some nice romances going on more than usually, then that energy might be fizzling out a bit after the conjunction disappears. As we already started talking about the 29th degree, there is another planet that is coming to the 29th degree very soon, and it's Jupiter. See, he's on 28 right now, so Jupiter is going to hit 29 degrees right here, and that's going to happen in 2 days, on the 5th of May, and it's going to last for a week until the 12th of May. It's going to sit under 29 degrees. That's always a closing of a cycle, right? The 29th degree is like, we want to finish this. Jupiter has been in there since January, right? So he's leaving Aquarius. Jupiter is the sign of optimism, like I said, and of the good things. And Saturn is its opposite, the sign of confinement. They were both in Aquarius since January, right? So there was a lot of confinement, but somehow people were still putting up with it. People were still kind of optimistic. They had this Jupiter there. They believed in science, they believed in the community, that they will make it through this. However, when Jupiter leaves Aquarius, then we're going to be left only with Saturn in there. And that is really going to change the energy. Like, people are going to be so much more miserable about the whole situation because faith is leaving. Jupiter, the optimism, the belief in a better future or in the end of it is leaving. Jupiter is all about belief, So this week from the 5th to the 12th, where Jupiter is in the last degrees of Aquarius, we're ending kind of this cycle of believing in the collective, believing in science, and the time after that might be a little grim. Because we're going to be left with only Saturn, and the whole confinement story is going to start feeling much more heavy on us than it did before. However, Jupiter leaving that is not like the end of the story here, because actually Jupiter is going to go retrograde in mid-June and is going to come back into Aquarius. So we're only going to feel the absence of Jupiter in Aquarius for about 2 months. Right? Let me check our timeline, because I also drew up a really nice timeline for you guys. Check this out. Here we go. Right, so we're in May here, and we've got June, July, Jupiter. Yeah, Jupiter is in Pisces till the 28th of July. So he leaves Aquarius on the 13th of May. And yeah, so we've got half a month, 1 month, 2.5 months where we're not going to be so happy with, we're going to be really feeling the confinement. Then Jupiter is going into Pisces, which means he's going to amplify Pisces, which means people are going to start resorting to escapism. Pisces is all about escapism and surrender, a lot about surrender, and also about spirituality and like going into yourself, about isolation a lot as well. So people are going to feel a bit, you know, like there is no other option than just to surrender to all of this. And maybe, you know, some are going to try and go traveling, because Pisces represents other continents and Jupiter represents traveling. So, or seas, you know, lakes, waters, that's what Pisces also represents. So Jupiter going into that can be like people escaping, trying to escape from where they are, people escaping mentally, emotionally from the situation by detaching, maybe by like drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever it is, you know, like there will be like a lot of escapism, because with Saturn left alone in Aquarius, it could be that whatever beautiful plans you had for the summer, or whatever promises were made for the summer, that maybe festivals are going to be allowed, that maybe this is going to be reopened, probably not going to go through, because yeah, Jupiter is not in Aquarius anymore to support all of that. And additionally, we have Mars opposing Pluto in on June the 4th. And Mars is about anger and about aggression. And Pluto, right now, Pluto in Capricorn represents this oppressive governments. Like it represents the governmental structures and the powers, this old, you know, capitalistic machinery that is, you know, kind of still dangling along, but obviously breaking. So Mars opposing that can be, you know, like a clash. I could imagine that on June 4th there can be some like massive outburst of aggression of people towards the government, or some military action, or the other way around, maybe outbursts of aggression from the government towards people. But yeah, that days around June 4th are kind of explosive and a bit dangerous. I would try not to, yeah, engage in any kind of conflict around those days, because it can escalate really quickly. Because also Mars is in Cancer, right? So Mars entered Cancer 10 days ago. That was a big energetical shift, because before that it's been in Gemini, and Mars in Gemini is very active. It's like, you know, like very, very spread out energy, very fast. Moving into Cancer really slowed down our energy flow. Maybe you already felt that change. So Mars in Cancer is in its fall. Being in a fall means that the planet really doesn't like being in that sign. So Mars in Cancer naturally is like frustrated, because there's no outlet for energy, there's no outlet for anger, you know, like we have all, like we start building up or bottling up energy and can't really express it, so we get frustrated. This is how Mars in Cancer tends to feel like. So, you know, all of May we got like a bottling up of frustration, and then around June 4th we've got this opposition with Pluto, so it might just escalate in some way. We will see on which level this will happen, if there will be protests, if there will be, you know, some political action. Yeah, but that time around June 4th is definitely a very difficult moment. Also because at the same time we've got Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 29th of May till the 22nd of June. And Mercury retrograde always makes us respin things in our mind, like try to go back to things we said, to things we did, and try to redo it. It's all about redoing, and it's an energy that keeps us very much in the past. It introverts our communication, our thinking, so we really kind of pull back and process everything that's been happening in the last 3 months or 4 months, because Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year, and it's like a cleansing of our hard disk, you know, like when you download a registry cleaner on your phone and then you like delete all old files. That's what Mercury retrograde basically is. So we go through everything that has happened in the past months and we sort out. And some things we have to go through again in order to resolve them, others we just discard them. So we have this natural mental detox happening every few months. So that as well might bring up a lot of things from the past months that have built up, which additionally, you know, supports this escalation on June 4th. Yeah. Mercury retrograde definitely like a time to pull back and be more introverted. So yeah, June, as much as I would like to say that it's going to be a great month, you're going to have fun, doesn't look all that promising. But yeah, I think with Mars in Cancer, the best advice I can give is to like really pay attention to your frustrations and try to voice them or do something with them. You know, don't build them up like regularly, at least if not by speaking or acting up on the things that upset you, at least by trying to have a regular routine of sports, because Mars is also energy, physical energy, so we can also regulate it by engaging in physical activity. And yeah, like I think it's really important to manage our anger in May, and especially in the beginning of June. And then, yeah, to not make too big plans for June, because it is not, Mercury retrograde tends to disturb all plans in the external world because it wants us to just chill out and be, you know, retrieve on the inside. So if you want to travel, I would say, yeah, do it, but leave before the 29th of May. And yeah, or leave after the 22nd of June. If you trying to leave somewhere in between, I don't know. Things just with traveling tend to be weird in Mercury retrograde. Sometimes flights get canceled, they're delayed, or other things go wrong. Airlines lose our bags, whatever, you know. Hotels forget our reservation. So if you travel in the Mercury retrograde, I would say just be prepared for some extra hindrances on your way. Okay, so the Mercury retrograde is happening in Gemini. There's a lot of Gemini energy. Although Mars left Gemini, we have got some other planets coming into Gemini. Let's pull up the chart again and change this one. Cool. Yeah, I've got some planets entering into Gemini, like Venus, like Mercury, and eventually the Sun as well, but that's only going to happen around May 21st. So Mercury will be in Gemini from the 3rd of May till the 10th of July, which is more than 2 months, which is not normal because usually Mercury moves through a sign in 3 weeks. But because it's going to go retrograde within Gemini, it's going to stay in there for, yeah, a little longer. And then Venus is moving in there too. Let us actually, this was a better chart. Yeah, Venus is moving into Gemini too on the, 8th of May. And yeah, Mercury on the 3rd of May, which is today. Oh no, tomorrow, because it's still on, or actually tonight, because it's right now still on 29 degrees. So we're gonna have those planets in Gemini, and then you can see that there is like a kind of a congestion happening in May here. There's a lot of events, so it's a loaded time. Between 8th of May and 17th of May, like 10 days that are quite loaded with energy. There's a few intense things happening there. First of all, like Mercury and Venus are changing signs, which we always feel a little bit, like it's always a bit of an energetical shift. Venus has been in Taurus and Mercury too, so it's more like of a chill, slow vibe. Them moving into Gemini changes the vibe. Our thoughts become quicker. We can be mentally more agitated for sure than with Mercury and Taurus. So there's more information coming in. Gemini is all about information. So with a lot of planets there, we can really expect a lot of information coming in. You know, maybe too much. Maybe we start spending too much time on the screen, consuming too much media or something. that's the worst kind of possible play out of this energy. The best possible play out would to start, you know, actually producing more communication or output, start writing a diary, start making more videos like I suddenly do, which I just noticed right now. Yeah, just be more creative, like do stuff with your hands, arts, crafts, that's Gemini stuff. Spend more time with your friends if you can due to confinement. Yeah, this kind of stuff, you know. All right, more energy in Gemini. So the things that are important which are happening here is that there's going to be a few North Node conjunctions, because right now we have got the North Node in Gemini. And let me just, you know, go back to the North Node. So the South Node and the North Node represent the developmental axis, right? So in the chart, it's these two guys. So the South Node is always the past or what we want to let go of, and the North Node is always the future, what we are developing towards. So since this is a transit chart, the South and North Node represent the collective developmental purpose, the temporary collective developmental purpose, because these nodes always stay in one sign for about 1.5 years. And they entered into Gemini and Sag last May. So now it's a year, so half a year more they will be in Gemini and Sag. I'll quickly go into what that means again. So South Node in Sag means what we want to let go of is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is all about belief, religion, but dogma, you know. So we want to let go of that. And it means we want to, you know, question our belief system, question the believe that there is only one truth out there, stop religious wars or stop wars of opinions like there is out there right now, like, oh, pro-coronas and versus and contra-coronas, and they have to constantly fight each other on the internet about who's right. Like being right is such a Sagittarius thing, you know, like, I'm right, my opinion is the only one. Like we really have to let this go once and for all, like in this cycle of the nodes moving through Sag and Gemini. And Gemini, on the other hand, is about opening up your mind. Gemini is all about seeing different perspectives at once, you know, because Gemini is kind of, you know, it has all the angles on one thing, while Sag always has just one angle, and it's the angle that they believe in, and that has to be right. It's like such a Christian thing, you know, such a religious thing, Sagittarius, you know. It's like, it's preachers. So here, what the chart tells us is like, stop preaching. Nobody wants to hear you preach. We just want everybody to open up their minds and understand that there is a zillion different perspectives on everything, and none of these perspectives are the actual truth. There is no such thing as the actual truth. There's only different perspectives. And that's what Geminis are always very aware of. They're always aware of the fact that there is so many different stories about the very same thing, or so many different angles from which you can look at the very same thing. So this collective purpose is all about opening up our minds, understanding that we are all like a community, because Gemini is all about community, friendship, connection, right? And understand that we're all a community. Focus on the friendship and stop focusing on the opinions and on the belief sets. Don't let belief sets split your friendships and your connections with people. This is basically what this whole nodal axis is telling us. So we're supposed to open up our minds and focus on the connections to people, and not focus on our truth or the truth or our belief system. We really, yeah, this is a position of breaking down belief systems, okay? And become more adaptive to changes. That's also Gemini. Sag is very set in their ways, because Sag always believe that they have the ultimate truth and that there's only one way to behave. And Gemini is very adaptive, because they don't believe that there is only one right way. So they're constantly adapting again to a new situation. And that's also something we have to learn, to stop being, you know, rigid and stuck in our ways, but start being more fluid and adaptive. Okay, so this is the story. that we are in basically since last May, that we're supposed to learn collectively. And we've got a few transits to this North Node, which are going to be days where this, energy is going to be very, very strong, and where you're going to have some lessons coming your way to further or to accelerate your learning process when it comes to this Gemini Sagittarius axis. And depending on how far you are with your learning process, the lessons might be stronger or not strong. But whatever happens in those days, remember that your purpose is to open up your mind and not to be rigid, and to focus on the connection and not on your opinions. Your opinions don't matter. Nobody cares, and neither should you. Opinions are just that, opinions, and not the truth, or they just don't matter. Okay. So the aspects we have is first Mercury conjuncting the North Node, which happens on the, on the 10th of May. So this is the 10th. And then we've got Venus conjuncting the North Node, which is on the 17th of May. So these 2 days and probably the time in between are going to be loaded with this battles probably of opinions. What all people actually need to do is stop fighting about opinions. And this Mercury conjuncting North Node, Mercury is like all about communication, so there can be, some verbal challenges, some communication challenges with other people where, it will be about fighting over opinions or over beliefs. And shortly after, on the 11th, there is a Mars square Chiron aspect. This is a tricky one, it's active also the days before and the days after, so it's also active during the Mercury conjunct North Node and the Venus conjuncting North Node. So what it does is, this is again Mars, it's still in Cancer, so it is kind of a bit congested with frustration. And squaring Chiron means that Chiron is the wound, so it means on that day could be that somebody really sticks their finger into our wound and really triggers us, and we react, we just throw all this bottled up frustration onto them, onto a situation. Might also be a situation that triggers us. But for the whole time that Mars is in Cancer, so that's until June 11th, until June 11th, all the time Mars is in Cancer, we really need to take care of our aggressions, right? Because they are very, very volatile. So especially, like I said already, around June 4th and around May 11th. So these are days where, just plan to be in the gym all day and work out in order to use this Mars energy in the best possible way, or just plan to be out in the woods hiking all day. Try to avoid it. Try to not become part of some aggressive discussions. However, also if you're doing sports, then this Mars square Chiron is also a bit dangerous for hurting yourself, because like I said, Chiron is the wound, and Mars is doing sports. So if you do sports, be careful, don't hurt yourself. Basically, the best advice I can give is to stick to the mission of the North Node, which is value human connection over any kind of belief war, and don't hold on to your opinions. Always remind yourself that there is a lot of different angles to look at the same thing, and none of them are right. So just try to stay objective. This is basically Gemini. Gemini is the pure sign of objectivity. They're always seeing things from different perspectives, which ultimately is objectivity. All right, so while all of this is happening, right, we have got Jupiter on 29 degrees. So the finishing of the cycle of Jupiter in Aquarius, this collective move, or the move of science, because Aquarius both represents the collective, or on a bigger level, not only the collective as in I know your circle of friends, your neighbors, your community, that's more Gemini, but the collective as in your country, like your political system that you are in. And Jupiter on 29 degrees there means that, you know, something that started in January in regards to politics and so on, a cycle is ending here. So, and Aquarius represents also science. So I think Jupiter in 29 degrees, this could be the days where science makes its kind of last announcements, last breakthroughs maybe. I don't know, maybe they put forth some vaccine that from now on is going to be the one that is going to be used. Yeah, there could be some like new final scientific announcements, and or like a last big wave of community or communal action, maybe in the form of some I don't want to say protest, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a protest. It can just be, I don't know, some like feeling again of, you know, we got this, and if we're strong together, we're gonna get through this. This is more like community, and it could also be Jupiter, Aquarius. Aquarius is politics, that there is some like laws that are going to be made. People or governments or political representatives are going to try to finalize something in these days that is going to be valid for, you know, ever, but nothing is valid forever, because very soon Jupiter will come retrograding back into Aquarius, and that's when all of these kind of final things that are going to be announced in these days are going to be made redundant. So if they roll out a new amazing scientific discovery about COVID these days, it's going to be, yeah, probably deemed ineffective or, yeah, unusable by the time Jupiter retrogrades into Aquarius. They're going to have to take something back, like they did it with this weird vaccine. They rolled it out and then they took it back. So there might be like, yeah, basically some apparently final announcements in regards to law or science or politics that are going to be taken back once Jupiter regresses into Aquarius, which will be in July, I believe. Let me check that again. Yeah, which will be in July. What else is happening in this congestion period? Yeah, Jupiter is moving into Pisces, so we're kind of left with only Saturn in Aquarius, which I talked about in the very beginning, which means that there can be like a more heaviness in the confinement. So maybe these last degrees of Jupiter really are going to be some new laws that are going to be made, and it leaves us with more confinement and with a desire to just escape. And then we have Moon conjuncting Mars exactly the day afterwards, so there's a lot of emotional reaction to that. Like Moon conjuncting Mars Mars is aggression, you know, so we're like emotionally pretty pumped up that day. So yeah, it can really be that there is some announcements around this time that people react very emotionally to it, and that there is some big, like, you know, fights between people about what is the truth, what their opinions are. So this is all, you know, the time between May 5th and May 17th. Yeah, guys, so I think that's about what I gotta say to you about the aspects that are coming. So I just want to end it with like a general advice for the whole period, which is, yeah, first of all, take care of your frustrations, of your Mars energy. Try to get your Mars energy out in a productive way with, you know, some sports, maybe some water sports, especially because Mars in Cancer likes water, swimming, being out in the open. Keep the Gemini perspective in mind, always detach yourself from beliefs and just try to generate community, try to keep your friendships, because people are important in this period. Take a time off during Mercury retrograde to, you know, retrospect, and when Jupiter moves into Pisces, just turn towards yourself, turn towards spirituality, or go traveling really far abroad, or stay close to the waters. Try to, yeah, just surrender to what is, because that's what Jupiter basically demands in Pisces. It's like, just surrender to the situation and Then after, after this congestion here is over, there's only one more event that might be a little, charged. But apart from that, the rest of the summer is really chill. Mercury retrograde and Jupiter in Pisces is the ultimate chill period. When Mars moves to Leo, which is in mid-June, there's also going to be much more energy around. So yeah, I think, really this period after the beginning of June, that is the time to really take it easy and relax and maybe travel. Yeah, so from then on, you are more safe. So it's kind of just the next month that is intense, which is why I wanted to warn you with this video, so you are ready. And yeah, I hope this helped. I hope you know what to do now. And I'm gonna be back soon with some more.